Wednesday. This is the first official episode of the Lawron Ballard Show. I am so excited to pop up and share this with you. So every single Wednesday, I will be going live at 2:15 Eastern Time, and we are going to be talking about all things tax, all things finance, all things entrepreneurship, life, and more. So welcome to the show. So today I have a really exciting show for you all. I am going to be starting the show with a conversation about what's new, what's going on in tax advisory, what's going on in the world of taxes right now. What do you need to know as an entrepreneur and business owner or as a high income earner? Then I'm going to cover a tax topic. And then lastly, I'm going to be taking live questions. And so when that time comes, feel free to drop your questions in the chat. So I hope that you all can hear me well. I'm excited to be with you. So what is going on in tax news as of today? So one of the biggest things that happened is that a few weeks ago, there was the Kwong bombshell that took place. And so what does that mean? That was a tax case that was decided a few weeks ago, and it determined that the failure to file, failure to pay penalties or late interests that were accrued and charged during the COVID devastation, the COVID disaster window, were deemed, according to this court hearing, the Kwong court ruling, they were deemed illegal. And so that window, what does that disaster window look like? It is January 20th, 2020 through through July 10th, 2023. So if you were charged interest, if you were charged a failure to file penalty, or you were charged a failure to pay penalty, then you may have a claim against the IRS for those penalties and interest that were charged. But this is the thing. You have until July 10th to file a protective claim for refund, the Form 843. And so if you are not working with your CPA or tax preparer to get that done, now is the time to make sure that happens. In other news, the IRS is getting serious about crypto trading. They are deploying for the 2026 tax season, the 2026 tax year, the Form 1099-DA. And that is specifically for folks that is going to be required for crypto broker dealers, exchanges, and platforms to issue that form to traders who trade more than $20,000 in cryptocurrency. So it's been a wild west up until this point. I have clients who trade hundreds of thousands of dollars in cryptocurrency, and we got to figure out bases. We got to figure out all the things. And so this is going to definitely help with reporting, but with streamlined reporting also means more money for the IRS. So, just be prepared if you are an active trader or you involved in cryptocurrency, that is going to be something new for this year. And then I think everybody is aware of the fact that gas prices are astronomical. We haven't seen these rates in terms of gas prices since the Great Recession. Actually, I think it was right before COVID, but I know for sure for me, I remember gas prices being around this in 2008. So it's been a really long time since gas prices were at this level. And so right now, Trump is proposing suspending federal gas tax to help Americans be able to afford gas a little bit better. But ultimately, politics aside, people are still trying to make it work out here. So hopefully there is a solution, and the conflict in Iran ends soon, so that this gas prices come back into a reasonable range. So that is that in terms of tax news. Kwong, make sure you get your claims filed by July 10th. There's some new documentation that is going to be released, the 1099-DA, if you trade crypto. And there is a proposal for a suspension of the federal gas tax to help alleviate the price of gas across the country. We'll see how all of that makes out. Now, for my tax topic for today, I want to talk about something that comes up a lot with my clients, and that is the real estate trap. So I have a lot of clients who are real estate investors, and I think the biggest thing that happens is that they have heard from the internet, from social media, from wherever, that real estate is tax advantaged, and that if you are not investing in real estate, then you are not playing the tax game properly. This is the thing. Tax savings from real estate only happens in two circumstances, in the way that people think that is, in the way that people want it to happen. So how people want it to happen is that they have a business, they have W-2 income, and they want the losses from that real estate to completely wipe out or significantly reduce their taxable income so they don't have to pay any taxes. And that's how it's promoted online, that's what happens, that you invest in real estate, you buy yourself a building, and then you don't pay any taxes. Well, my friends, that's not how it works. This is what happens. If you generate a loss and you are not properly structured, those losses just sit there. And a lot of times, this is very shocking for clients. They have no clue what to do. But there are two ways that you can get around this. I have helped clients do both. The first way, and this is honestly the easiest way for the majority of people, it's something called the short-term rental loophole. And what that means is that you treat your property as an Airbnb or VRBO, whatever platform you like. There are some specific specifications that you have to meet, but they're pretty easy. You got to keep stays below 7 days, and you have to have a certain amount of hours managing the business. It's about 100 hours it's at least 100 hours for the year, and more than anybody else. So if you hire cleaners, if you hire maintenance people, you just got to make sure that you're working more than those people. And if you are self-managing, usually that's pretty easy for a short-term rental. That is way number one, for you to take those losses from your real estate and use it to lower your tax bill if you work in a business full-time or if you work in your W-2 job full-time. The other way that you can do this, and this is fantastic for my married couples, this is actually the most common way that I see this. So I do have unmarried clients who are real estate professionals, but real estate professional status usually is one of the best ways for you to also use real estate as a tax advantage investment. So how do we do that? The way that we do that with the real estate professional, especially with a married couple, is that you are running your real estate portfolio, you are treating it like a business. So if you are married, perfect example, I have a client. The one spouse is a physician full-time. The other spouse is a real estate professional. They spend 100% of their time building the building the family real estate portfolio. That is all that they do full-time. Therefore, when that happens, because they meet their requirements for real estate professional status, we are then able to take the losses generated from the real estate and use it to offset the income that the spouse makes, who is making upwards of $1 million as a physician. This works beautifully when you, especially if there's a interest in real estate or there's already some properties that are held by the family. So let me give you an example of how this worked in practice. So I had a client this year, husband and wife. The husband is an attorney, the wife is a real estate professional. The household income for the year was $1 million. We were then able, with the real estate professional status, we were able to use the losses from the real estate that his wife managed to offset his income. That play generated $70,000 in tax savings for that client in 1 year that they are now using to reinvest in a new property and continue moving forward. So that's the beauty of the real estate professional status. So again, if you want to use real estate as for tax advantages, there's only two ways that you can really do it. It is short-term rental or real estate professional. Any other way, you are normally going to be limited, and it becomes very, very challenging to take advantage of the real estate. So that's what I want to talk about today. Now I want to turn it over to Q&A. I want to turn it to Q&A. So if you have a question, I'm here live on YouTube. I'm live on LinkedIn, but I'm also live on TikTok. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Now is your time so that we can make sure that we get those answered. Any questions? All right, so we do have a question from a business owner in Pennsylvania. Let me grab the question really quick. So if you have an S Corp or if you have a business that is currently registered as an LLC, does it make sense to convert it to an S Corp to create a cash balance plan? So there is, when it comes to using retirement plans as a tax strategy, there is you do not necessarily have to be an S Corp to create a retirement plan. You can be an LLC. A lot of times people think that you have to be an S Corp in order to create some type of retirement vehicle for your business, but that's not the case. What happens is that the formula for calculating how much you can contribute is different. So if you're an S Corp, then they normally use your W-2 income that you generate from the business to determine how much you can put into the retirement account. Whereas if you are an LLC using the Schedule C, then they use the income shown on the Schedule C to determine how much you can contribute to a retirement plan. So you do not have to convert to an S Corp to create some type of retirement vehicle for you as a if you are self-employed. Any other questions? Let's see if we have any other questions that are coming through. Okay, so what is the due date for, we talked about this at the beginning of the show, what is the due date to make Quang claims? That due date is July 10th. So we will have about a month before that window closes. So even though it may get thrown out, it is if you are eligible, you should absolutely file to take advantage of that. All right. If there are no other questions, I want to put this I want to put this on the screen. You can, whenever you have questions, if you're joining me here on TikTok, you can put them in the comments. If you are joining me via LinkedIn or YouTube, even if I'm not able to answer questions in the middle of this broadcast, you can always send questions and I will get them on the following week at questions@hilltownadvisors.com, and we will make sure to feature those during our Q&A session. Well, this concludes our very, very first inaugural episode of the Lawron Ballard Show. I'm so excited to start doing this and sharing this with you because I know that people have a lot of questions, and I want to make sure that you are getting served and getting access to the information that you need in real time and as up to date as possible. So I hope that you have an amazing rest of your week. And until next week, God bless.